Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez filed articles of impeachment against Supreme Court Justices Clarence Thomas and also Samuel Alito. The New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other Democrats filed articles of impeachment against Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. The articles of impeachment accused the two justices of committing high crimes and misdemeanors by failing to disclose gifts and recuse themselves from cases. The lawmakers filed 3 articles of impeachment against Thomas and 2 against Alito. AOC released a statement about the impeachment. It says the unchecked corruption crisis on the Supreme Court has now spiraled into a constitutional crisis threatening American democracy writ large. Justice Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito pattern a refusal to recuse themselves from consequential matters before the court in which they hold widely documented financial and personal entanglements constitutes a grave threat to American rule of law, the integrity of our democracy, and one of the clearest cases for which the tool of impeachment was designed. Of course, Justice Clarence Thomas and Alito repeated failures over decades to disclose that they have received millions of dollars in gifts from individuals with business before the court is explicitly against the law, and their refusal to recuse themselves from specific matters and cases before the court in which they are benefactors or their spouses are implicated represents nothing less than a constitutional crisis. These failures alone would amount to deep transgressions worthy of standard removal from any lower court and would disqualify a nominee to the highest court from confirmation. The lawmaker says Thomas should be impeached because he failed to disclose numerous luxury vacations he received from real estate magnate Harlan Crow, and because the justice didn't recuse himself cases in which his wife, a right-wing activist, had a financial or legal interest, including cases involving the 2020 election. They also say that Samuel Alito should be impeached because he didn't recuse himself from cases in which he has a personal bias. They specifically point to Alito's participation in cases involving the 2020 election and January 6th riot. Despite reports that he and his wife flew flags associated with Stop the Steal movement outside of their homes. Let's bring the panel in. Scott, do you think these articles of impeachment are anything other than a publicity stunt, or do they have an actual chance of having a legal impact?
Well, I don't think they're a publicity stunt. I understand the frustration. The problem is when you impeach or you try to impeach, you've got to have evidence of high crimes and misdemeanors. And because the Supreme Court is the supreme, there are no laws that govern them. There are not even any ethical guidelines, really. It's all voluntary. It's going to be very difficult to bring certified impeachment articles against them. And then obviously it's a political process. And the Senate, the House GOP is the majority. However, strategically, if the Dems run the table and become and are in control of all 3 houses, then and these articles are pending, then you may have a shot, And if you got a shot at even doing a hearing, if you will, and moving it forward, you're making your point clear and you're making life difficult for both of them. But their conduct, quite frankly, there's no question. It's not just possible conflicts of interest, just really certain conflicts of interest and unethical behavior, even if it's only an appearance. If it's an appearance and you got an explanation, if you got to explain why you did something ethically or unethically, you probably should never have done it. And if you're going to be on the Supreme Court, you're at the highest levels of the judiciary, and you ought to lead by example, despite having no guardrails up or no rules to follow. I mean, up to recently, they really have to disclose a whole lot of things, and they had a lot of ways out of disclosing. So we got to figure out what to do about the Supreme Court. Adding justices isn't the answer. Roberts has to do something to compel not only disclosure, but ethical behavior that even avoids the appearance of impropriety. To date, that's not happening.
And Rebecca, on that,
they won't even appear on the Hill. They've been invited to hearings. They won't even appear on the Hill.
Well, that's the exact point I was going to make to Rebecca, because Rebecca, what we've seen is that it seems that our political institutions are effectively impotent when it comes to regulating the Supreme Court. Will Democrats be able to make this an actual issue running on the courts in November?
I did not think that was a question you're going to ask me. This is a Democrat and a Republican Party. This is a problem for this country, because I think this is the same court that just said that those who do official acts in public office, they can then receive tips from people. So, I mean, I almost want to make a Magic City reference for you, Robert, because it doesn't make sense that judges are saying that they now can get tips. This should be a voting issue. This is something that people should run on. They should run on what it means to have good governance in this country. What does it mean to remove the appearance and actual corruption from those who hold public office or hold judgeships in this country? Unfortunately, for this to actually change, for there to actually be some type of reform, I agree with Scott. Packing the courts isn't going to solve it here, but there's going to have to be some type of constitutional amendment, which amends in which how, especially federal justices, what is it, Article 3 judges, how they're able to conduct themselves and what are the rules and parameters in which they should be conducting themselves.
That's right.
And Joy, on that point, we in Atlanta, right, in Douglasville, a probate court judge be removed for doing not a quarter of the stuff that Clarence Thomas is doing on the bench. I'm talking about luxury SUVs, buying his mama's house, putting his nephew through school. I think he's on a golf vacation right now where he's on a private helicopter. What does it say to the American people that the one branch of government that we used to think to be kind of fair and unbiased now has been shown to be one of the most corrupt branches that there is?
Yeah.
Yes, Clarence Thomas and Alito have damaged the court irreparably. And I think that, what Representative Ocasio-Cortez is doing is she is fighting. Now, we can talk about whether it's, going to happen. Obviously, it's not, right? We wish it were. Whether it has legal standing, whether it has legal basis, whatever. We can talk about that. But really, what he's doing is saying, I'm willing to fight. I'm not just going to talk about the things that we see are happening right before our eyes, right? That we have Democrats who want to talk more about Joe Biden and don't want to talk about the fact that we have a Supreme Court justice who's bought and paid for, right? Not even, as one of my friends says, not even for that much money, right? The amounts of money. I mean, think about it. You're selling the country down the river and you're damaging your own reputation. And frankly, for not that much money. And it was good money well spent. We need to see someone doing something about it. The Senate Judiciary Committee has been relatively impotent to address this. She is saying that, the Democrats in the House don't have as much recourse, but she has recourse as a member to file articles of impeachment. And that's what she's doing. She's using every means at her disposal to raise awareness about what is going on and to remind people that I'm willing to fight for you. We need more Democrats like that. I think we have historically thought of that as kabuki theater, but guys, this is politics. Part of it is kabuki theater. This is about the fight, rallying your base, letting them know that you see what they see, that you're concerned about what they're concerned about, that you care, and that you are not so wedded to your image that you won't bother. You're too polite to say the obvious. She's saying, I'm not too polite to say the obvious. I'm going to say the obvious. These people are crooks, or they at very least appear to be. And when it comes to the court, which we want to have trust in so that we can really have it be the final decision of the nation and the final arbiter between the other two branches, we have to have trust. Otherwise, we will have chaos. We believe in our government. And that's what she's saying. I'm willing to fight for that.
Absolutely. And I think that there's nothing wrong with the Biden campaign and Democrats at large running a campaign saying, look, Clarence Thomas has a sugar daddy. And we have to understand that you can't have a sugar daddy on the Supreme Court. That if any other field of play, Somebody can't have a sugar daddy paying their bills while they're on the court making these decisions. Moving on.
How do you define sugar daddy? Is it like an Urban Dictionary or your own version?
Scott, I'll tell you when you get older. When you get a little bit older, I'll explain sugar daddy. But look.
Time to get paid, blow up like
Fanbase exclusive audio rooms are here. Now tap, talk, and get paid. Monetize your live podcast and most engaging conversations. You can now create exclusive audio chat rooms only for your subscribers and biggest fans. And as a user, subscribe, listen, and talk to your favorite creators. Now tap, talk, and get paid. Because everyone's a fan of something, and everyone has a fan base.
I'm blowing up like you thought I and if you don't know